Hello everyone, it is Junie. I am trying to attempt to do another video on Grant Sullivan, which is truly a heartbreaking case. And the whole family dynamics is heartbreaking. If any parent has ever been in a long drawn out custody battle and having child abuse claims, and this case of Grant, it's very layered and it goes very deep. So I wanted to give Grant another video because the live video that I did get disconnected due to internet issues. I live in a very old house and it's like limestone walls in the bottom of the house, so we constantly have issues with our internet. So I wanted to come back on. I decided not to go ahead and do a live because I just want to make sure I don't have any problems with Grant's internet connection, and I wanted to give him, all my undivided attention. And sometimes it's hard for someone like me that's got ADD and dyslexia. I struggle with doing the live and doing the video stuff and chatting with you guys. It gets kind of, it's hard. So I wanted to give Grant my undivided attention. I also pulled another chart on him. If you remember, this is Grant's natal chart, his birth chart. It shows in even this kid's birth chart, the day that he was born, that he was going to be surrounded by a very tumultuous home life situation, that he was going to be, you can find that out through the 8th house with having Aries in his natal chart. It indicates to having just a lot of violence and anger and arguments around him. Now this isn't his exact time of birth, but it's at 12 o'clock when all the planets update and do their thing. I'm doing this on an old cell phone, and I'm using my tablet because my laptop is broken. Basically, all my equipment is broken. So if you guys can just bear with me while I'm trying to save up money to buy a new camera and a new laptop and things like that, so I can do more professional looking videos. But this is what I have right now. I'm doing all this on my tablet. So even in Grant's natal chart, it does hint around that he's going to be surrounded by a lot of anger, with Aries in the 8th house on his birth chart, his natal chart. It also does hint to having a sudden death. Now these are just blurbs that I've found on the internet. You guys can Google this stuff yourself. The books that I'm going to be referencing are by Kirsty McIntosh, The Criminal Astrology, and I'm also going to be referencing Forensic Astrology for Everyone by Caroline Lilly. I also like to use the pictures in this book, The Stars Are Within You, A Modern Guide to Astrology by McCarthy, Juliana McCarthy. This is a really good book too if you want to learn how to basically do natal charts and read your natal chart. It gives really good descriptions. Now, Aries in the 8th house, I'm just going to go over everything that I did the last video because it got cut off. So I am kind of repeating myself. I naturally repeat myself anyway. I'm sorry about that. So, anyway, if the reason why we associate Aries with violence and the head is because Aries is the ram. Now, Aries are known for I am, the way I am, the way I, our situation, which is why it's kind of showing up in the 8th house to have Aries. It means that you are, I am surrounded by anger and violence, okay? So that shows up in this kid's natal chart that on the first day that he's born, that he's going to be surrounded by, people in his home life that are aggressive. A lot of anger around him. And it also indicates, if you're born with Aries in the 8th house, that you will have a violent death. If you have Mars in the 8th house of Aries, you're definitely looking at a violent death. My son has Mars in the 8th house, and it's in Aries. So I tell my son all the time that he needs to slow down, because if you think of a head-on, the reason why Aries is associated with head-on collisions and speeding, if you think about the two rams, when rams fight, they run up to each other real fast and they hit themselves in the head with their horns, and it's boom. That's why Mars and Aries is connected to head-on collisions, or that you hit something head-on, or that you're speeding really fast, because Mars is a fast planet. This is an amber crystal that I have. It's a perfectly round sphere, so it kind of, if you can think of this as Mars, and if this is the sun, Mars goes around the sun extremely fast, okay? As it's spinning around, it's a fast planet. It even spins pretty quick, and it goes around the sun faster than a lot of the planets. So overall, Mars is a fast planet, okay? So that's why it's associated with head-on collisions, speeding, driving aggressively, or being in an aggressive situation. It also can indicate that your death is going to be violent. You could have a lot of cuts and scrapes all over your body. You could have, again, these are just little blurbs that you guys can find on the internet when you just look up the 8th house of death. In astrology, we associate the 8th house with death. It's run by Scorpio. It's ruled by Scorpio, who is connected to Pluto, which is the planet of life and death, okay? It's the planet of death. Your survival instincts, your sexuality, regeneration, other people's money. So you're looking at inheritance, income, what you're worth. And you're looking at taxes, sex, death, and taxes, the things that you can always depend on. So some astrologers compare this, the 8th house, to the rock and roll planet. It's where stuff gets crazy, okay? So that's why we use the 8th house to look at how you might pass away. Sorry, when I pull a book in front, it goes blurry for a second. So just give it a minute for the camera to adjust to focusing in on the pages of the book to compare to the screen, to the laptop screen. So, I mean, there's plenty of blurbs that you can Google about having Aries in the 8th house. It can mean that you have a fight with somebody and it ends up being violent, where you die. And if you die, you will usually die with an injury to the head, blood loss, and it's going to be violent. If you look, Aries is the head and the brain, okay? So we're looking at injuries that directly affect the head and the brain. Now, this is Grant's, diagram of his death. If you look, he did have blunt force trauma to the head and his face. Aries rules the head, face, and a little bit of the neck too, but mostly the upper head and the brain. So, yes, this could all, and he was dragged underneath the truck. If you look at the truck, it was a very violent car accident. He wasn't driving, he wasn't speeding. The car was parked in this parking lot up here, and it was the first time that he was to meet his dad after this long, horrible, drawn-out custody battle. This custody battle involves allegations of sexual abuse to Gracie, Grant's little sister. This is Grant's little sister right here. Her name is Gracie. She has plenty of statements online. Everything that I'm saying is under the Fair Use Act of the internet. All these pictures you can find online. All this information is already out there online. I'm not breaking any rules. I'm just discussing what's already out there on the internet. So the accident is suspicious. They were going to either they were going to go meet a baseball trainer or a baseball instructor, or they were going to like batting cages. I'm not exactly sure what this building is up here in the parking lot, but here's the parking lot. And the person that works in that building said that the father and son were both parked weird. The father arrived first. The father parked weird in the parking lot. So when Grant pulled in next to his dad, it automatically kind of made Grant kind of park weird too. What the dad explains is he was checking his email sitting in his car while Grant was getting all his batting stuff out of the boot of his truck, and that when he was trying to get the stuff out of the boot of his truck, the car became unparked and it ran over him and dragged him down this embankment here, and he got pinned, that the truck ran over top of him and he got pinned underneath. So the astrology backs that up to a degree where his body is found. The astrology even backs up of the color of the vehicles. It was lily white with specks of black. Even shows up in the astrology, which kind of blows my mind. It really does blow my mind sometimes how crazy the astrology matches up to the victims. So, Grant's body was found down there, and this is like a drainage ditch or like a water runoff. And Grant's body does show in the astrology that he would be found. That's where he was found, down in this ditch down here. And there's actually even blood on these rocks for where his head was hit. It's absolutely heartbreaking. And my heart breaks for the whole entire family. For Gracie, his mother, Grant's girlfriend was brokenhearted. I mean, in looking at Grant's natal chart, we did really truly lose an earth angel this day. Grant's natal chart is, he really was a good kid. He was critical of himself. He was a good kid. It's just, it shows that he was surrounded by a lot of, aggression within his family. And it is heartbreaking. Also, having Leo in the 12th house, it can indicate to a public death or an early death. So that kind of shows up in his astrology too, from his natal chart, is that, he could be dying publicly or dying at a very young age. And the astrology does match that up because he has Leo sitting in the 12th house too. It's on a cusp, but it's still there. So the astrology of Grant is interesting. I pulled another chart. So the 911 call is this chart here. And the first chart that I didn't have asteroids in it. So this is his 911 call with the father. If you listen to the 911 call, I would suggest that you guys do that. The 911 call, now granted, let's take into consideration Aaron Solomon is innocent. He has not been charged with any crimes, okay? I need to put that out there. I also need to say that this video is for entertainment purposes only. Please do your own research about criminal forensic horror astrology. It's been used for hundreds of years to help figure out crimes. Of course, it's not the only tool that police officers can use. They should do their regular investigations. But as someone that is, I'm not a professional astrologer, okay? This is just my interpretation of how I'm reading the planets, okay? First of all, I need to make it clear that I'm not a professional astrologer. I am self-taught, and I'm going to share with you what I do know. I am not accusing Aaron Solomon of any crimes. What I am saying is that the astrology does make him look very suspicious. That's all I'm saying. I can't say that he hurt his son in any way, because we do show that there is an accident. So I've explained to you guys a few times why why Uranus is the planet of accidents. It's the planet of expecting the unexpected, okay? So I'm not accusing Aaron Solomon of anything, but there is a lot of suspicion surrounding Grant's death, and it would be great if he would be willing to reenact the accident scene. To put people's minds at ease would be a tremendous help to make him not look so guilty. Or, not really guilty, but suspicious. Okay? Because there's a few planets in these houses that are indicating that there is not the full truth involved in Grant's accident. So I'm gonna show you why the planets are hinting around to that. Okay? Again, entertainment only, YouTube. Do not take this seriously. Entertainment only. But I'm just going to interpret to you what the planets are trying to tell us about that fateful day. All right. So we have Cancer. So it shows us that Grant is with family. And Grant is, in this chart, he's showing up as the first house in Virgo, which is a balanced sign. So my thing is that he's outside. The victim is outside of a building. It can represent being outside of a business, because Virgo is connected to Mercury, and that's connected to small businesses, okay? Small, personally owned businesses. So he's outside of a business. That adds up where our victim is located. Virgo also has, again, like I said, it's the color of white, lily white, and like the virgin white. And Grant was in a white truck. So, I can get really deep into this stuff, and it gets freaky. It gets weird how so accurate this stuff gets. It actually can give you chills sometimes. So because our victim is in the first house, so we look for the victim, first house, and the killer in the seventh house rules the killer, okay? And we have a planet sitting in the seventh house. So, and it's a planet that's this isn't a natal chart, this isn't a birth chart, this is the event chart of the position of the planets over top of that business, okay? Over top of that parking lot where Grant passed away, okay? It's the position of the planets at the 911 call. So, in the 911 call, the dad does, I know that people don't act normal during a 911 call. It's an emergency, but he claims that there was a white box truck that stopped and helped Grant and was down there in the ditch trying to help Grant. The father was up in the parking lot. He wasn't down by where his son was, and he was calling 911, and he was just telling Grant, like, oh, hang in there, but he never went down there. It's really weird. I would, as a mother, if my kid got hit by their car, I'd probably be the mother that's trying to lift the car off of them. I would be hysterical. I would be freaking out. I probably would have jumped in the car and reversed it, I think. I think I would have done everything in my power. I would have been down under the car with them, trying to lift it up with my back. I would be absolutely hysterical. And the fact that he never went down in that ditch, it really freaks me out. And it's the first time that he saw his son in 2 years. After this horrible custody battle with little Gracie, and Gracie, accusing her dad of sexual assault. So it is a very suspicious thing. And the police haven't really reopened this case. They haven't looked into it. And I think that they should. I think that they should do a reenactment. I think they need to The father says that he was on his phone when the accident occurred. Well, let's back that up. Let's get his phone. If the father is innocent, he should be coming forward and saying that, making a statement and doing everything in his power to put the mother at ease and the sister at ease that he would never hurt his son. I really hope that he wouldn't. I don't want to think ill will of any father. I really don't. Because in the pictures together, they look so happy, and he does look very proud of his son. But I need to tell you what the astrology feels and is trying to communicate with us, and I need to keep my emotions out of it, okay? Me personally, I do think it's suspicious, and I think that the father should come forward and provide everything that a proper investigation, like the father should be the one saying, let's reopen it. Let's go ahead and reopen it. Because I'm sick of people making these, like people like me, coming in and pulling up astrology because the whole thing just seems suspicious, okay? Let's just put that out there. I really think that having a mannequin, a human-like mannequin, stand up and go behind the boot of the truck, and let's see if it ends up in the same position as Grant. Why can't we do a reenactment with a human-like, same size as Grant, weighs the same amount as Grant, and see if Grant ends up in the same position that he did in this ditch with the truck on top of him? Same truck, everything, right? Why can't we just see what happens? I know it would cost a lot of money, but I think it's worth it. I really do. This kid was a really awesome kid. He was well aware that he was gifted and talented and that he could outshine his peers. And his astrology kind of shows that he made everybody feel, welcomed. And he was a joyous kid. He was a joy to be around. His astrology, his natal chart here, it just tells us that he was a good kid. It's just he had a very volatile home life, and that's sad. It's sad. If you have a dysfunctional marriage and you're fighting in front of your kids, it shows up in their astrology. It's really sad. It does, though. Okay, so back to the event chart. So this is the 911 call. This is when the father, 8:40 a.m., is calling out to the police. So, and that makes sense because we have the father is the sun, and he's reaching out to Jupiter. That's your authority, and that is something bigger than you, and it represents police, specifically police. Saturn is more the government, like the bigger part of the government. But you can see that the father is calling out to the police here. So, the mother would be the moon, and Gracie would be Venus, the sister. Now, Grant is Mercury because he's showing up in Virgo here. So, that makes sense for Grant. He's with his family in the house of Cancer, where he's going to be meeting up with family, which is his dad. This also is on a new moon or a dark moon. If the moon was over in opposition of the sun, it would have been a full moon. But this is a new moon, and there are more accidents, especially car accidents during a new moon. But it also means something is hidden. It can suggest, because the moon is dark, that something might be hidden on these charts. Just want to put that out there as well. So Grant is Mercury, which also represents being in front of a small business with his dad. That kind of shows up too, because Mercury represents small businesses. Also represents siblings, being a sibling, which he is. So, we have Grant. The dad is calling 911 because he's telling them that Grant has had an accident. Okay? But we have a direct connection to Gracie here, who is in Gemini, meaning two. So we have two siblings. And let me pull up the chart that has the asteroids showing up for Grant. So this is a chart a little bit earlier before the car accident happens, okay? This is at 8:20 a.m. And the planets this is how fast the planets move. This is why everything is always changing and always in movement, okay? In our lives, too. So we have a little bit of a different chart, but we still have Uranus letting us know that it's an accident. Uranus is the planet of tragedy, that your everyday life is going to be changed forever. That you know that it's letting us know that there's a tragedy connected to Mercury. Okay, so somebody's lost a sibling and somebody's lost a child. That's basically what it's telling us on this chart. Over top of, these are the planets positioned at 8:20 a.m. in the morning. So this accident, if we follow, it goes to Mercury. That's telling us that Grant is involved in this accident. But it's directly connected to Mars. Okay? Which means that it's violent. And I have to say it, we have Chiron there. Chiron is the wound, the wounded healer. So we have a wound to Aries. Aries is the head. Okay? And it's usually can be with speeding. The reason why I'm kind of thinking that we know that Grant wasn't in a speeding accident. His car was stopped. All right? So then it makes me think, and it's also, Mars is the brother as well, involved in this accident. If you look, that's a male symbol there. In the 8th house of death. Wound to the head. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. This astrology is pretty amazing, guys. So, and Aries. So we know that's going to affect his brain and his head and his face. And then we follow Mars and it goes down to Jupiter. So Jupiter is not necessarily a person, but it can represent being attacked. It can represent... I mean, Jupiter means a lot of things. Like in Brian Kohlberger, when we did Brian Kohlberger's chart, we had Neptune and Jupiter right next to each other, right? And Jupiter is not necessarily a person. It means that it's an expansion, okay? And there's going to be characteristics involved. So, I'm just going to show you in the book. So, I'll show you in Kirsty McIntosh's book about injuries to Mars. All right? So, we have an injury of Mars in Aries. So, here's Kirsty McIntosh's book, and it's going to explain the kind of injuries that our victim will have. Okay? So I hope you guys can read it. If Mars is found in the 7th house, or it is the ruler of the suspect's 7th cusp, it can be trickery, because Mars covers a lot of territory. One thing for absolute certain, though, is this person was angry, violent, and quick to kill. Blunt force trauma, head injuries, gunshot, knives, stabbing and shooting. Fire is associated with this too. The brain, faculties and disruption of mental and physical energy. Blood arteries, muscles, cuts, bruises, fevers, inflammation, redness, and heat. If coupled with Pluto in aspect, there may be sexual assault and sadistic tendencies, especially Mars in fire sign. Okay? But we know that he wasn't sexually assaulted, so we know that there's a lot of anger and passion. A lust kills. If Mars is in the 7th or ruling the 7th, the death, it implies that the death was fast. Scorpio, the organs of reproduction, bladder, gall, colon, and rectum. So that's just, you know, letting us know how bad his injuries are and what could be happening with his, you know, what could be happening behind the scenes, why they were attacked. All right. So I wanted to go over a few asteroids. So there's 10,000 asteroids that are floating above our heads at any time during the day. Of all hours of the day, they move quick too, guys. So, you know, Jupiter is pretty amazing. He's the one that keeps the asteroid belt in orbit. So he actually protects Earth from, you know, Jupiter is our protector. Our Sagittarians out there, you really are our protector from Earth. We could be hit by an asteroid at any time, and it's because Jupiter is so big, it keeps the asteroid belt in check. I mean, sometimes we get a little runaway, but overall, Jupiter is a protector of Earth, which is why Jupiter is the police in some of these charts, but it also can describe a killer's something extra about the killer or something extra about the victim. With this, with Grant, it basically is letting us know that Grant's going to be tall. And with Brian Kohlberger, Jupiter lets us know that our killer was going to be tall. Okay? So it's a little bit of a different chart, but it's, like I said, the planets do their best way to communicate with us. So if you look here, Grant's physical characteristics is going to be connected down there to Jupiter, and that's reaching out to the police. So for Jupiter, it's very rarely a person. And that's why I was saying that with Brian Kohlberger, why I say that Brian Kohlberger is one person. Yes, Neptune can mean that there's like a hidden person that knows about something, or that there's somebody kind of in the shadows that knew of something, but, you know, that they're hidden. But usually Jupiter is not a person. It's a description of a physical characteristic about our either killer or about our victim. So Jupiter is rarely a person. It can describe if if someone comes along, and this would be a descriptor for someone overweight, perhaps, and possibly on the outside of the situation. It can mean an onlooker was a witness. In some instances, it describes the police, especially if Sagittarius is on the 9th house or the 10th house cusp. But most often, Jupiter describes a scenario, a scenery, and objects. It can be a church, a school, a bakery, a candy shop, again, businesses. All sorts of things associated with the traditional Jupiter. I have seen it in charts where the subject passed by a church or was found dead on school grounds. It most often a place of scenery in the event, which can determine by the sign and the house where Jupiter is placed. A person, Jupiter may describe a priest, a teacher, a guru, and he was going to go see a baseball teacher. So that's kind of telling us about our victim, okay? A supporter, a chef, a cook, a coach, something like that. And that's basically he was going to go see somebody like a coach, okay? So, always go to traditional astrology for support for your analysts. Okay, so basically our victim in the 8th house of death, showing that he has an injury to his head when he was going to go meet his coach. That baseball kind of teacher. I'm not sure if it was a coach or, you know what I mean, like a tutor, a baseball tutor, something like that. Showing up in the house of children, because Leo rules that house usually, and it is the house of children. I'll show you on the chart. 5th house is ruled by children. Pleasure, social life, children, creativity, okay? So it's letting us know that he's 18, but he's a child. He's a kid, okay? Who's outside of a small business that he was going to meet like a coach of some sort, a trainer, okay? A baseball trainer at a batting cage or some baseball thing. Now, what makes me feel like the dad does look suspicious is, first of all, the asteroids paint a picture for us. And like I said, there's 10,000 asteroids flying around in the sky. You know, I'll just run off a couple of asteroid charts that stick out to my mind. Okay, I've done a astrology natal chart for Paul Murdaugh and Alec Murdaugh. You know, you pull up Paul's natal chart in the 8th house of death, the asteroid sitting smack dab in the middle of Paul Murdaugh's house of death is Alex. Asteroid Alex causing death, okay? Like, you can't make this stuff up. The planets will warn you on the day that you're born how you're going to die, okay? So the day that Grant is born, we have a head injury. And we also have dying young as well. So the planets do try to tell you how you might pass away, okay? I could name off a couple of natal charts and astrology charts where the asteroids are just crazy. Like Michael Vaughn, his asteroid placement. In his open enemy, he had Stacy and the other guy. Every name was mentioned for asteroids in Michael Vaughn's case. You can't make that stuff up. There's 10,000 asteroids. So you mean to tell me that God places that asteroid there at a certain time, and when that kid goes missing, and the asteroid is Stacy? So I'm just going to tell you about this asteroid right here, Nasu. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right either, but let's see if I can find it. Yes, this one. So we know that Grant's dad was accused of sexual assault. In the 7th house of open enemies, okay, 7th house, open enemies. That's why we use the 7th house as the killer. You mean to tell me, out of 10,000 asteroids floating around in the sky, this is the one that shows up? Sexual abuse? Themes of sexual abuse? Themes of having issues in marriage, enemies in marriage? Abuse, especially child abuse. Out of all of the asteroids that could show up for our killer, the planets are letting us know that this kid's open enemy, and he's not showing up friendly. He's showing up as an enemy at this point. The planets are telling you at 8:20 a.m., the father is showing up as an enemy. It also is telling us that that asteroid that was over Grant's head is that his enemy has issues with sex abuse. I can't make it up. It's right here. Any of you can print this chart and you'd get the same chart. You go to astro.com, you enter the city and state that Grant lives in, and you enter the date and time that the accident happened. We're at 22 degrees and 22 degrees. So we know that we're right when the event is getting ready to occur, or it's happening. Because this other chart lets us know that the event already happened. The other chart at the 911 call is telling us that the event happened because we're at 3 degrees. So 5 degrees and lower, you're too late. The death has occurred, or the actual assault has happened, okay? So we're at 22 degrees, so we know we're smack dab in the middle of action. That's what the astrology is telling us here at 22 degrees. So 25 degrees and above, you're too late. The person is the thing has happened already. 5 degrees below, you're too late. It's already happened. And the astrology is matching up, because the 911 call is obviously the accident happened, and that's what the astrology is telling us. At 22 degrees, it's telling us that it's happening right now. And it could be, yes, Uranus connected to Mercury. That's an accident, a tragedy, but Mars is there. That can mean a car accident. It can mean a violent death, but it also can mean that you have a physical fight with somebody. And that the dad is connected to Neptune. Now, Neptune only means a few things. Neptune means that the killer used either drugs or alcohol to cause your death, or that the killer used water and drowned you in the ocean, or you died in the ocean, okay? And Pisces is there, so that can mean the ocean. But we know Grant wasn't floating around the ocean. He was found in a ditch. Or it means that there's allusions to lies, and that there's a secret, that there could be another person involved in this death, okay? That's what the planets mean. Now, does that mean that Grant's dad murdered him? No, but it means that there is some misconceptions about the accident. With the sun connected to Neptune down to where Grant is, Black Moon Lilith is there too, which Black Moon Lilith lost her children, and it was in a violent way. She lost her children in a violent way. So, I mean, and Gracie shows up involved in this as well, because we have Mars connected over to Gracie. Why would if it's just a car accident, then it wouldn't go over to Gracie. We would have Saturn connected to Gracie, like loss of life. Pluto connected. So is he being attacked over Gracie? Because Gracie, she has asteroid Eros next to her there. See Eros? See that asteroid right there? So that represents Gracie. Let's see what Eros says. This is Eros. It means the younger sibling, having a brother. Eros was the younger sibling of everyone, right? And they loved her brother very much. Very loving, having a loving brother, right? So the astrology is letting us know that Gracie is the younger sibling. She's the younger of the two. It actually means younger of two. And Gemini there is a sibling, and it's the younger of the two. How can you not deny that astrology makes sense, okay? Gracie shows up as the younger sibling, and it's telling us she's the younger sibling of two. Mercury shows up as the brother. Okay, I've not done anything to these charts. You can enter this chart and you'll get the same exact chart that I got. Now, I'm wondering if during this meeting with his dad, were they going to talk about a college fund? Because that's the second house. The second house is ruled by money, possessions, earning ability, self-esteem. So were they, and Juno is there. That's a beautiful planet. So I think that Grant was going to meet his dad to talk about money, maybe to talk about his future, maybe to talk about a college fund. So I would like to know if there is a college fund and if there was a life insurance policy on Grant. I really want to know if there was a life insurance policy, or if there was a college fund set up and they were going to discuss it, and if the dad hit him over the head, and that's what the secret is, and the dad was desperate for money because he basically lost his job because the younger sister Gracie accused him of sexual assault. Just putting it out there. Again, entertainment only, YouTube. Don't take it seriously. But, it is something to consider, because the astrology is letting us know that we have a child predator that's lying. That's what that means. Because he's not in the ocean. He's found in a ditch. The astrology tells us he's in a drainage ditch. That's rocky. Capricorn rules stone, rocks. Aquarius rules man-made structures that are like sewers and runoffs. And his DNA is showing up in a rocky area That's off a drainage ditch. Aquarius is man-made structures, small rivers, small creeks, like little water runoffs, conduits, things like that, drains and sewers, septic tanks, anything that's man-made. So remember, I know that Aquarius isn't a water sign necessarily, but Aquarius is a water bearer. So that's why we associate Aquarius with man-made structures that are like little water runoffs, okay? So the astrology is matching up to where Grant and Saturn runs the DNA. So his astrology is amazing because it's telling us that his DNA is going to be found on a rocky surface, which he was. The victim is in Virgo, meaning that there's going to be something white that's involved in this accident. His truck is white, okay? I don't know if Grant was wearing white that day, but it'd be interesting to know if he was wearing white. And actually, it says white speckled with black. That's the colors for Virgo. You can Google it. Colors for Virgo. White, because it's the virgin. Pure white. Give me 1 second so I can show you what I mean. Okay. This is why Aquarius is associated with water, because he's the water bearer, okay? So it's not a water sign, but it's allowing us to know that he's in between a ditch. Do you see how it's like little structures, like rivers, creeks, but small creeks. If it's a pond, it's not like a huge pond, but it's letting us know that he's not in the ocean, his DNA. That's what that means. And it matches up. He's found in a ditch and his head is actually on a rock. Capricorn represents concrete and rocks because it's the mountain goat. Capricorn's the mountain goat. So as far as the astrology is showing, as far as Grant's open enemy, we have Nassau, who is Google it. Google it. It's someone that is involved in sexual abuse, specifically children, okay? Or abusing people close to them. Trauma, okay? He's associated with abuse. So the father is showing up as an abuser. I'd like to know why. And why is he showing up as not telling the truth about how Grant passed? This is the father. The moon is the mother. The lines are connected to the father, not the mother. And it's a finger of God. It's a finger of fate. Letting us know that it's pointing right back to the father. Family, father. He looks suspicious. And that's just the astrology part. Of course, this is just astrology. But planets do their best to communicate with you of who everybody is. It's telling us that Gracie is the younger sibling, okay? The younger of two. It's letting us know that Grant was a brother. It's letting us know that the father is connected to lies. It's letting us know that the father is connected to lies of child abuse. I can't make this stuff up. I'm not making it up. The planets are saying it. It's not even me saying this. The planets are saying it. Why are they saying it? Why? Why do you look like a liar, Aaron? I'd really like to know. Also describes a Pisces man. So we have brown hair, brown eyes, or light blue eyes. Think about it. The description of a Pisces man. Look it up. Google it. That the killer would have brown hair, an odd-looking shaped body, see what the father looks like. Brown hair, brown eyes, a big nose, small teeth, a small mouth. That's what the father would look like. So why is the father showing up like that? That's what the planets are describing. Because remember, Pisces as a killer, what does a Pisces man look like? There's Pisces men. They got brown hair and brown eyes, sometimes blue eyes or green eyes. They have like a bigger nose. They can have longer dangly arms. They have a small mouth usually and small teeth. They have issues with their feet. They might have a drinking problem or a drug problem. Pisces has got a long association with drug use. So, you know, why are the planets putting the dad as a killer? I'd really like to know. Because they are. And if Grant was hit in the back of the head, it's possible. And then the dad let the truck go and it went and ran over top of him and dragged him down the hill. It's very suspicious. And if the dad is innocent, then he should agree to pay for a reenactment. I think that the police station should want to do it too. I don't care how much it costs. There's a grieving mother and a grieving sister, and the public would like to know. The public wants to know what happened to Grant. The astrology, it's very suspicious. All right, I wanted to redo the video and tell you, you know, about what the astrology says about Grant. All right? He's a good-looking kid. He reminds me of my son. My son's got glasses like that. My son's not as tall as Grant, but he was athletic. And this kid pulls at my heartstrings. If it's an accident, then let's prove it. Let's do a reenactment. I don't want to think of Grant's father like that. I mean, this is a beautiful family. Gracie's a beautiful girl. Grant's a good-looking kid. The mother is beautiful. There's some rumors going around that she was accused of being crazy and that she wanted to kill herself. Well, I'd want to kill myself too if my daughter was sexually assaulted. I would have a really hard time dealing with that, and I'd be very depressed. So, I mean, I feel like the mother is going through depression. It's not just because somebody wants to kill themselves doesn't mean that they're crazy. She lost custody of the kids because Aaron proved her crazy. That's when you get the mother help. You don't paint her out to be a bad person, you know, the black sheep of the family. You get her help. Obviously, she's struggling because her daughter has accused her husband of sexual assault on the daughter that you share together. And as a father, you know, go into family counseling together. Clear your name with a counselor, and you sit down through sessions and you work it out. You battle it out. And if your daughter doesn't want to see you, you don't force it. You don't force it. You work it out. No wonder the mom was suicidal or depressed. I'd be depressed too. This whole family shows up in the astrology as being just tumultuous, just heartbreaking fighting, and it's a beautiful family. I wish that they could have worked it out differently. I wish that they would have done things differently for the kids. And you know, if they don't want to live with the dad and the dad doesn't want them to live with the mom, then okay, let's let them go stay at a grandparent's house and we both pay child support to the grandparents until we figure it out, until everybody is at peace. But it just seems like the dad was just hell-bent on, you know, wanting control. And look, it ends horrible. And this is why he looks so bad. He looks really bad. And he looks bad on astrology too. I can't help but say it. He looks guilty of lies and assault, child abuse. Gracie, if you're watching this, honey, research that asteroid right there. Nassau. Research it. Research this planet. I mean, this asteroid. It means sex abuse towards children. Summer Wells had it too. Just gonna put that out there. I hate to talk bad about victims, but when the planets kind of back up what we've been suspecting or what somebody's been accused of, and then out of 10,000 asteroids, God just happens to throw that asteroid over top of Grant's head at 8:20 a.m. Do you think that's a coincidence? All right, again, entertainment only, YouTube. This is not to be taken seriously. However, please do your own research about forensic astrology. Police officers and the FBI actually do use it sometimes when they don't have any other tools. This is a way that you can solve crimes. This is a way that you can figure out what was happening with the victim, what planets are involved, and it really does tell you a lot about our victim and our killer. His natal chart says that he's going to have a violent death that could possibly be involved with an argument that gets out of hand. Okay? The day that Grant was born, it was letting us know that he could possibly die young. Okay? That he could die young. And that he could die from a violent death from an argument. Okay? Or a car accident too. So car accident and a fight show up. Alright, so we know he didn't catch on fire. We know he wasn't floating around the ocean. So we're left with either he got hit in the head with something, that somebody else might be involved, that it's violent, that is going to affect his brain. Okay? Astrology, all the other astrology matches up. So why wouldn't this match up? About Nassau. Why wouldn't that? Right? If all the other astrology matches up, if Gracie shows up as the younger sibling of two, if Grant was going to talk to his dad about a college fund or college or money, because Juno, and he was going to make peace. He's actually shown up. Juno is a peaceful asteroid. She's peaceful. She wants to make peace and make relationships heal, and asking for money. So in the 7th house, we have this guy. Why? Showing up as Grant's enemy. Lies and delusions and a cover-up, possibly another person involved, and child abuse. Abuse. Connected to the father directly. There's no other line to anyone else but the father. Why? I'd like to know. And I really hope that there is a reenactment done. With like a mannequin that looks like Grant, has the same weight as Grant, and we put it behind the truck, and we let the truck run it over, and we see if it drags it down to the ditch, and if it ends up in the same position as Grant, with the truck on top of him. I'd really like to do that. It'd be great if we could do that. All right. Everybody, God bless. Take care of one another. Stay safe. Bless be. I'm so sorry for Grant's loss. Again, I'm not accusing the father of murder. I'm saying that he looks suspicious. Very suspicious. Okay? God bless everyone. Take care.